everybody, my name is Kazan3639. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, we're doing a meta/set analysis on Blazing Vortex. Yes, it's that time again to do another set analysis on the channel. Now, Blazing Vortex will release on February 5th, 2021, which is actually 2 days from now, so it's actually coming up pretty soon. So basically the premise of this video is to go over most of the cards in this set, starting off with cards that are not a part of an archetype, then cards that are getting just more, or archetypes are getting more support in the set, and then archetypes are debuting in the set. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my grade based on if it's going to impact the meta, and then a grade if how good the set is regardless of the meta. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Starting off with just some basic information about Blazing Vortex. So cards in the set are 100. So it's basically a really big set. 50 of those will be common, 26 will be super rares, 14 will be ultra rares, and 10 will be secret rares. And then each pack will include 9 cards in them, with at least one being a super rare guaranteed. So with 100 cards in the set, we got a long video to go ahead. So without further ado, let's cover the cards that are not a part of an arc. First things first is Pot of Disparity, most likely the best card in the entire set. This card is currently going for $100 pre-sale. Now, I do have an entire video just covering this one card, which I'll link in the description down below, so if you want more information. But basically, all I gotta say, it's a better Pot of Duality. You get to mill 6, and then you get to choose one of those sticks, and you can still special summon that turn. It's goddamn amazing. Yes, there's the reason why this is at pre-sale 100. Makes perfect sense, and yeah, it's probably the best card in the entire set. Next thing up is Underdog. So basically this card just kind of is a card. So during your turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. And during your opponent's turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters you control. So basically you play this card to make sure your opponent cannot disrupt you during your turn. Which is kind of still sucks, because it doesn't stop hand traps. That maybe if it stopped hand traps, it could be maybe seen some play, but this does not stop hand traps. Only stops face-up monsters on the field. So this just right now, out of the big three decks right now, as an Eldlich, Drytron, and Virtual World, I see none of them playing Underdog. I don't know if this card's not really that good, but I guess it can see play somewhere. Just right now, there's no point of it seeing play. It's just not that good of a card. So yeah, there's that. Next thing up is Psychic Eraser Laser. So this is a spell card that reads: send one monster that was special summoned from the extra deck to the graveyard. Your opponent gains life points equal to its attack or defense, just whichever one's higher, and then you can only activate this once per turn. So basically this is just like a means to get rid of a problematic extra deck monster. But as in right now in the current meta, it's not that good, because the problematic extra deck monsters right now is VFD, Zexal, and Dragoon. Right now, Psychic Eraser cannot stop any of those, because VFD will get its effect off before Psychic Eraser would get it off the field. Same thing with Zexal, and then Dragoon can also just negate it as well. But that, again, this baits out, you would have to bait out a negation with Dragoon. So as of right now in the current meta, it's not that good, but this could be a card you want to pick up for the future. Maybe there'll be a problematic card in the future, but that can be stopped by Psychic Eraser Laser. So maybe this is like a good side deck choice in the future. Just as in right now, there's just no point, but I would still pick it up just so you have your hands on it. Next thing up is Underworld, Goddess of the Closed World. This is a fucking brilliant card, if I have to say so myself. Probably the second best card in the entire set. Maybe even number one if you want to argue it. Now, this is a 4+ effect monster to summon it as a Link 5. Now, that seems like a lot of materials to go invest into this card, but its top effect actually, for this card's Link summon, you can use an opponent's monster. That is pretty amazing. You can use basically a Super Poly for a Link monster. That's actually pretty good. Its second effect as well is actually still stupid as well. When this card is Link summoned, negate all your opponent's effect monsters. That is fucking brilliant right there. And then its bottom effect, we'll cover its third effect in just 1 second. Its bottom effect reads: if a card would special summon a monster from the graveyard, you can negate that activation of that card, and it's a quick effect. That is pretty pretty fucking amazing too, especially with Drytrons running around in the meta right now. So seems like it's a pretty good card. Then its third effect comes to play, which is actually pretty unique in a way. So this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target it. Yeah, so it's one of those things, actually having a target on a monster effect actually might benefit you if you target this monster. So basically, things like Zeus and Dragoon cannot get around this card because they do not target in the slightest, so this would just be unaffected by those card effects. But something like Eldlich's Hand effect, where it can target and then send a graveyard, this card would not be able to get around it because Eldlich targets. It's one of those things that's like, man, this thing can be targeted and it will actually hurt it in a way. That really is an interesting way to balance a card. Now, this card is still fucking brilliant, and I would advise you to maybe pick up one or two. This card is stupid brilliant. I would still pick it up. And fucking brilliant, and Zeus can't get rid of it either. That's also pretty fucking stupid. Yeah, pick up this card, one or two, but I would say pick up this card. Next thing up on the list is Heavenly Sphere Miradora. Now, this is actually a new hand trap for the game, if you believe it. Well, it's technically not a hand trap, but its effect plays out like a hand trap. So the effect goes as follows. Your opponent cannot negate the activation or effect of this card's effect. So basically a card that can't be negated. And then its effect goes, if your opponent special summons a monster with 2,000 or more attack from the extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then when this card is special summoned from your hand, you can target one monster your opponent controls, or that was special summoned from the extra deck. Neither player can activate that card's effect while this card stays on the field. So basically, it's a good way to stop extra deck monsters are a problem, such as Zexal. That's actually pretty good. As of right now, it's not that good because it can't target Dragoon because Dragoon is untargetable. VFD, they can actually just pop this card with Chuche, so that's not a problem for them. But this actually might be a card to pick up for the future. Yeah, we're moving more into a control format right now, so this card might not see that play through the control format. But if we ever move back to the combo decks, or they special summon from the extra deck all the pissing time, having this card as a hand trap can actually benefit you in a way. So I would say pick up this card as maybe pick up a playset. I don't think it's going for that much. Yeah, pick up this card as a playset and just sit on it. It might not be able to see play now, but it could see play later on in the future. Next thing up is Coordius the Triphasic Dealmon. I'm probably butchering that, but that is the name to the fusion. Now, this is actually a fucking really powerful fusion. So basically, its effect goes once while this fusion summon card is face up on the field, you can pay life points of multiples of 2,000 and apply one of these effects for every 2,000 life points played. One is add one spell or trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Two, the second one is destroy 3 cards your opponent controls. And then the third one is this turn, this card gains attack equal to the half of the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. And then this is the only monster that can attack that turn. So basically, it's a fucking brilliant way to get a really good beat stick out onto the field, destroy 3 monsters on the field, which is amazing because that does not target, by the way. So that's just brilliant. Now, you do have to pay 2,000 for at least one of them. So if you pay 2,000 just to destroy 3, you only get that effect. Pay 4,000, you get 2 of those effects. You pay 6,000, you get all 3 of those effects. Now, the only problem with this is it has to be fusion summoned, which could maybe be a problem because its fusion material requirement is a synchro monster, an XYZ monster, and a link monster. So it's kind of a lot of things to go into that. Because remember, synchro monsters require its own things to go into it. Same thing with XYZs and same thing with link monsters. So yeah, it's a good card, but it's a lot of materials to go into that card effect. Maybe if it can be cheated out of the extra decks somehow, it would be fucking brilliant. But just as of right now, it's a good card, but just way too material heavy to actually pull. Next thing up is Sacred Tree Beast Hyperyton. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but I could be not. So this requires 2 level 9s, and you know where everyone goes when they hear 2 level 9s. So basically, during your turn, when you activate a card or effect, quick effect, target one card in your graveyard with the same type, monster, spell, or trap, attach that card to this as material. So basically, if you activate a monster effect, you can quick effect this of Sacred Tree Beast to attach one monster from your graveyard to this card. Same thing with spell and same thing with trap. So if you activate a spell, you can attach a spell. If you activate a trap, you can activate a trap from the graveyard. So why does that come in handy? It's because of its bottom effect. Bottom effect is if you can during your opponent's turn when they activate a card or effect, detach one material from this card with the same type, monster, spell, or trap, and then negate the activation if you do destroy it. So if they activate a spell card, you would have to detach a spell card to negate that spell. Now, is it as good as VFD? No, but as everyone knows, VFD is probably going to get hit in the next ban list, so this might be another thing Virtual Worlds might have to go to after VFD gets hit, and they probably will. So if you're a Virtual World player, I would pick up like one of this, but right now you don't need it until VFD gets hit. This is just going to be that replacement when VFD eventually gets hit. So that's it for the monsters that do not that doesn't have an archetype. Now let's get into the cards that are getting into the archetypes that have more support coming in Blazing Vortex. First things first is the Fabled archetype. They're getting a new monster, they're getting a couple of things in the set. Basically, their Synchro monster is pretty good, and the support they're getting is actually pretty good for the archetype. Just as of right now, it's not going to affect the meta in any way. The Fables aren't just good enough in this, and the support they are getting probably won't do anything in the meta. I could definitely be wrong, because that Synchro monster is actually pretty decent for the archetype. But just right now, the Fables aren't going to do anything. It's very good support for the Fables, yes, but just right now, it's not really going to affect the meta in any way. But if you're a Fabled fan and you have a Fabled deck, this is very good support to throw in that deck. Next thing up is Eldlich, as in their fusion monster and their fusion spell. And the fusion monster is called Eldlich the Mad Golden Lord, and their fusion spell is 7 Realms of the Golden Land. Being a Golden Land card can actually be searched out through the archetype. Now, this is actually a pretty good support for Eldlich if you don't play Zodiac Eldlich. So basically, this is going to be really good support for Eldlich for players that use pure Eldlich or zombie Eldlich. Those are like the only 2 decks that are going to play these cards, and it's going to be very good. So pure Eldlich and zombie Eldlich will be playing these support cards, but if you play like Zodiac Eldlich or Dogmatica Eldlich, or a mix of those 3 archetypes together, you're probably not going to be playing this because you already need space for other stuff. But just right now, the pure Eldlich and the zombie Eldlich could afford space in this, and it is pretty good support. The fusion Eldlich can basically just tribute 1 zombie to take control of 1 monster your opponent controls, and it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects either. Pretty good support. Just right now, the Zodiac Eldlich engine is the best for Eldlich, and they're definitely not going to be using that. But as in for the pure Eldlich and zombie Eldlich, it is actually pretty good. Next things on the list is Virtual World, because yes, they need support for some pissing reason. They're getting 2 cards in Virtual World Rabbit Tutu, and then a trap card in Virtual World Gate Zhang Wu. Oh boy, this is not going to be fun. Virtual Worlds are already good enough, and then these support cards basically give them way more better consistency. I mean, they're only going to be one-ofs in the deck, but just these being as a one-of, the Virtual World Gate Zhang Wu can banish itself in the graveyard to special summon one Virtual World card or monster to the field, and then you have to discard 1. So basically, it's a monster reborn for the archetype, which, because of course they need that. They can already go into VFD. Zhang Wu will basically make it a double VFD. Virtual Rabbit is the same thing too. It can special summon itself from the graveyard by sending a Psychic or Worm monster from your hand to the graveyard. Special summon it as a level 6 tuner, by the way. That's going to be fucking stupid. And it also can be normal summon itself if you control no monsters or all the monsters you control are Worm or Psychic monster. So basically a level 6 that can normal summon itself and then special summon itself from the graveyard. Again, this is going to be just more plays to go into VFD. This support for Virtual World are basically going to make double VFD guaranteed unless they just really, really brick. And they can also play through Nibiru now because of this new support. So yeah, all the more reason for VFD to get banned in the next ban list. Next thing up is the Tri-Brigade, and they're only getting 2 support cards in this. It'll be the Tri-Brigade Kit and Tri-Brigade Rendesivorous. I'm probably butchering that. I don't know how to pronounce cards. That's on me, though. So Tri-Brigade Kit is actually a good thing for the archetype. So basically, if this card is sent from, I think it has to be the deck. Let me just make sure. No, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Tri-Brigade monster from the deck to the graveyard. So basically, its play is you send Fractal, then you send Kit, then you send Nervel, and then you add Coordius. So basically, Kit just gets more Wing Beasts, and all those into the graveyard. It's just going to be good support just to get 1 more card. Get the Coordius' effect to banish, Beast Warriors, and all that. It's going to be very good support. And then Rendesivorous can target any number of Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monsters you control. They gain 700 attack until the end phase. And then if a linked Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Right now, Kit is the better one of the 2, but Rendesivorous might see play. But right now, Kit is definitely going to see play. Very good support for the Tri-Brigade. And then the last archetype that's getting more support are Metalfoes. So basically it's, pendulums. Now, I don't know that much about pendulums, so I don't know if this is good support. I think they're still going to require heavy Electromite to come off the ban list for them to actually do anything. Just the support cards, they are getting support. I just don't know enough about pendulums to say if it's good or not. It probably is, and that's why people are asking for Electromite to get unbanned so this can become a tier 1 deck. I hope that doesn't happen, because I hate pendulums. But yeah, that's it for the archetypes that are getting more support. Now let's get into the archetypes that are debuting in Blazing Vortex. Starting off with the cover boys themselves, those are the Armed Dragon. So this is basically a new archetype to kind of buff up the level system. Now, is it going to do anything? No, this archetype is still pretty much garbage. Even though you can level up monsters the same turn you summon them, it's still pretty garbage and it's still too slow. Maybe if this got released like 10 years ago to increase the level system, maybe it would be good then. Just right now, there's really nothing because they only have 1 normal summonable monster. And if you negate that, they are fucked to beyond belief. So yeah, this is just not a good archetype whatsoever. I can maybe see its spell that can summon the level 3 played in Dragon Link. That's just because if they draw it, they can summon level 3 and then link off the level 3, go into more Dragon Link plays. But that's about it. The whole archetype itself is pretty garbage. Like level 10, it's like okay as a boss monster. There's just really nothing about this archetype that blows you away. Just nothing really, because if you just negate the level 3, all the fucking deck is just shut down by that. But I can definitely seeing the Armed Dragon spell that summons the level 3 from deck, seeing play in Dragon Link just to do those Dragon Link plays. But that's it. So yeah, that's basically what this archetype is. Not really going to do anything at all. Next thing up is the War Rocks. Now, I actually did a video on this as well. That'll be in the link in the description down below to give you more of a detail on this. Basically, this is also not going to do anything. The same thing with the Armed Dragons. This is not good. Now, they are getting support later on in the future. Maybe that support can be good. Just right now, there's nothing to them. If you want more detail, I'll put in the link in the description down below to my video of what the archetype is. Just right now, it's just like everything that activates during the battle phase, it's just garbage. They made it way, way too balanced. And right now, if you're going to be a tier 1 deck in the metagame, you have to have some broken cards. That's just the unfortunate truth about Yu-Gi-Oh! And War Rocks is just way, way too balanced to do anything right now. So it's just, it really sucks that they made this deck way too balanced. Because you can see, if you read the card effects, you can see where it can be good, but the fact that they just made it way too balanced by everything must do it in the battle phase. Most of their effects happen during the battle phase, and they have to be destroyed by a card effect to actually get their effects off. It's just way, way too balanced. It's not going to do anything. Let's hope that the support cards later in the future are better, but just the initial support is just, it's nothing special. It's not going to do anything. So yeah, there's my opinion. It's not going to do anything. Next thing up is the S-Force, and this is just re-identifying with the debuting archetypes. Again, it's just not going to do anything. Now, the Link monster and their spell cards are actually pretty good, but everything else is pretty shitty about the archetype. Because again, they made it way, way too balanced. Now, the Link monster and the spells aren't balanced. They're actually pretty good for the archetype. Besides that, everything else is just way too balanced. Now they are getting more support as well. The same thing with the War Rocks. They are getting more support, and let's hope they make them better in the future. Just right now, it's not going to do anything, and that's kind of just the theme with these debuting archetypes. Like, they just made them way too balanced, and like they're not going to do anything in the meta. Hopefully they do release better support cards for the archetypes, but just their initial support are just not good whatsoever. This is not going to affect the meta in any way, but it's a fun archetype to play with, especially if you can get to the Link monster. It's pretty good, but besides that, it's not going to do anything. Next thing up is the Materiactors. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, this archetype only has 2 cards in its archetype, and actually is better than all the archetypes we covered so far in the debuting archetypes. So basically it has a level 3 that if you discard this card, spell summon 1 level 3 normal monster from your hand or deck. Or if you discarded a normal monster, you can spell summon that 1 Materiactor monster instead. So again, they're implying that they're getting more support. The initial support is actually pretty decent. So the level 3 can discard and spell summon a level 3 normal monster or a Materiactor if you discard a normal monster. And then you can only use the effect once per turn. And you cannot special summon a monster from the extra deck except XYZ monsters. That's not really a problem in today's age, so that's not really a problem. But their XYZ monster, on the other hand, actually might do something. Gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can detach 1 material from this card, attach 1 Materiactor monster from your deck to this card as material, and during your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you can add 1 card attached to this card from hand. So basically, there's a play where you can summon Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide will summon Materiactor. Then you can link into Materiactor Gigaboros, and then during your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you can add Tour Guide from the Underworld back to your hand. Now, is this going to do anything? Not really, but again, the initial support is actually better than all the archetypes we've already covered already. Maybe if they flesh out the archetype a little bit more. I think it's bad because they don't have a lot of cards. They only have 2 cards, like I said, and that's the only reason why it's bad. If it had more support cards, maybe it could actually do something, but just right now, it's not going to do anything. But this could be a archetype you want to look out into the future if they do release more cards in their archetype. So yeah, I'd pick up a copy of this or so if you want. And then the last debuting archetype in the Blazing Vortex is Springans. I also made a video on this archetype, not like 2 days ago. I'll put the link in the description down below if you do want to watch that, where I go into more coverage into the archetype. But my initial impression is it's the best of all the archetypes that are getting released because they can actually recover themselves. They're actually pretty good. So it's basically an archetype that revolves around their field spell, just getting their field spell on the field, and then they discard a Springans to special summon a Springans XYZ monster from their deck. So basically the play is to go Explorer, and then you attach a shit ton of materials onto Explorer. Now, yeah, that's actually pretty good because Explorer has a brilliant effect to targets a zone and not a monster, and then destroys cards in those zones. And then you can it's just again, I'll put the link in the description down below for a video that covers more into the Springans. This has the most potential. They're getting more support in the future that actually makes them better as well. And since all their monsters in their main deck can actually attach themselves to materials anywhere on the field, from hand, field, or graveyard, they can attach themselves onto an Springans XYZ monster. Now that's a problem because a certain Zeus is currently out and running things. Springans can make a 6 material Zeus if they want to. Yes, I'm being dead serious about that. So that's kind of just right now, this is the best archetype of all the archetypes that's debuting. I'd pick up a copy or a deck core of this because the deck core is actually like $10 because they made everything like a common for some reason, except for like Explorer and the Vast Desert Gold Gaganda. So yeah, this is an archetype you definitely want to pick up. So that is it for the cards. Now let's get on to Blazing Vortex grade. Now my grades for Blazing Vortex. So the meta grade I am giving a C-, and here is why. A lot of people would expect that to be a little bit lower because yes, the debuting archetypes aren't going to do anything meta-rise right now. They are getting more support, yes, but right now they're not going to do anything. And that's why a lot of people are saying this set is actually garbage. But if you look at everything else, like the cards are actually getting support. Virtual Worlds are getting support. That's a tier 1 deck that's getting support. Same thing with Eldlich. That's a tier 1 deck that's getting more support. Tri-Brigade is an up-and-coming deck that's getting more support as well. And then you have to also look at the cards that aren't a part of any archetype. Pot of Disparity is a fucking brilliant card right now. Just, yes, that's going to very much hit the meta game straight away. Same thing with the Underworld Goddess Link monster. Again, that card is so crazy, it's going to be worth picking up a copy, because again, if you see that Link monster can fuck things up in the current meta. And then you have Miradora, the hand trap I was talking about. Even though it might not see play now, it definitely is a card that can see play. Just as of right now, there's not that many good decks that pull out from the extra deck, because we're moving more into a control-oriented deck. Drytrons don't really use their extra deck. They use ritual monsters more. Same thing with Eldlich. They don't really use extra deck monsters. They focus, unless it's the Zodiac version, of course, they more focus on that control style. And then again, in the next ban list, the format is slowly moving to control. But Miradora, once we go back to a combo-oriented deck, that Miradora card is going to be fucking worth buying. And that's why I actually included it in today's meta grade. Even though it might not see play now, it's going to see play eventually. It actually might see play now in like Dragon Link decks or something like that. Again, it's a very good card. Now, the set grade in general, I did give a C as well, just for the same reasons as the meta grade. And then in conclusion, just buy the singles. There's no point in buying the set. Just buy the singles, buy the cards you need, instead of, because maybe if this was Phantom Rage, yes, buy the set, because the set you're actually getting a tier 1 deck out of it. You're not getting a tier 1 deck out of this. None of the debuting archetypes are going to fucking switch up the meta whatsoever. But there is support cards in the set in general to help build up on those tier 1 decks. So buying the singles of that can actually be good. Now, that is it for the video. I know this is probably a long video, but I wanted to cover as much as I can. I had to cut a lot of things too. There's like some live twin supports and stuff like that in there, and there was fucking also dual avatar stuff that was in there. I just decided not to cover because there were like 1 or 2 cards at most. But yeah, so that's it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.